Go. Welcome to SwamiLee's Sports Talk. We're back again. I'm SwamiLee.
I am Mellow Mike.
And we're ready to talk some baseball. Mike, what you got for us today?
Well, it's been quite a few weeks since we talked about the Phillies and what they have done or failed to do to improve their prospects for 2021.
Okay.
So let's dive right into it. First, Archie Bradley. He's going to shore up one of the many weak bullpen spots.
Love it. Now, granted, this year he's going to go 2-6, 7.33, but you can only sign a player with the hopes he's going to do well. Just like when they traded for 4 relief pitchers who were all doing pretty well last year, and all 4 fell on their faces. Archie Bradley's a great signing. I'm very impressed with that signing. I think he'll shore up that bullpen. He may even be the closer.
Well, that was my next question. How do we think Joe Girardi's going to use him?
I think he's going to see that Hector Neris is not a closer, and by May or June, you're going to see Archie Bradley the full-time closer.
Let me digress for a moment and ask you, Lee. If it's going to take till May or June for Joe Girardi to see what many of us have known for years about Hector Neris, why is he regarded as such a great baseball guy?
Wow, that's a great question. That is a great question. I think it's the potential. Hector Neris is one of those guys who has the potential. He has the stuff, okay? And they're going to keep on trying until they can't try anymore with him. And it's kind of like Jose Mesa that one year when they, what was it, opening day, Larry Bowa benched him, took him out of closer role when he blew it opening day. I don't think we're going to see that because I just had to bring that up. I think that Neris is going to be wishy-washy, good enough to get an opportunity, but he's going to, in the long run, Girardi's going to realize that he needs to go with Archie Bradley.
Well, if Bradley pitches the way his numbers in past years suggest he will, that will be a step in the right direction.
Yeah, if he pitched anywhere but Philly, he probably would pitch just like he has in the past.
Now, you talked about potential, so let's go to potential. I mean, I remember it today. You remember it too. Vince Velasquez struck out 16 Padres.
Yep, that was early April of 2016.
Yeah, but he showed he's got the potential. He's got stuff.
Well, it's been 5 years now, okay? I mean, at least Neris has had some success in the past 5 years. I think this is the year. Velasquez very well may end up in the rotation, and he is going to have a short leash. Okay, I'm talking, if he's still struggling after a half dozen starts, he's going to be done. Okay, you can only give a guy so much. Maybe in 5 years from now, he finds it, but this is his last chance in Philly.
If only he was Steve Howe, he'd get unlimited chances here.
No, he only had 7 chances, Steve Howe, okay? And this is 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. This is number 6 for Velasquez. Okay.
Well, do you think bringing back Velasquez on that 1-year tender was a worthwhile move?
How I answer that question is this quite simply. If you're another team, not the Phillies, and you see Vince Velasquez out there on a 1-year, I don't know what it was, $4 million contract, give or take, okay, do you sign him and say, hey, let's give him a shot? With the dearth of pitching out there?
Probably not.
See, I disagree with you. I would take a shot on him because you know the potential is there. Now, we've seen nothing. Let's be honest. He is not impressed, and he's a 5-inning pitcher on a good day. But on a small, there's no bad 1-year contract, and there's no bad 1-year $4 to $5 million contract. So you give him a shot. You make sure he has a good spring. If he by May 1st, if he's not pitching well, he goes to the bullpen. And you know something? If he's not pitching well in July or August, maybe you send him packing. But it's worth the minimal investment to give him a shot.
Worth the minimal investment to give him a shot is a nice way to lead into the next player, Matt Moore.
I love it. No, it's low risk, high reward. And he may stink. He may get cut in spring training if he's that bad. But he was a stud when he came up. He was very solid for a couple of years, and then he woke up one morning and he lost it. He literally lost it. It was like he couldn't pitch anymore. Then he went to Japan. He did pretty well. The problem with the Phillies, they have not been able to find those nuggets out there. They've not. I mean, they found Jason Worth. If you remember the old days, they took Shane Victorino in the Rule 5 draft. They used to find players. They used to unearth players. They don't do it anymore. This way, at least they're trying. They're rolling the dice on a guy who may or may not be any good, but he has the pedigree and he has the history. So let's see what happens.
Well, if you want to talk about pedigree and history, then why didn't the Phillies take a chance on one Felix Hernandez, who signed a 1-year deal with Tampa Bay? One year, $1 million deal.
Wait, he signed with Baltimore.
Pretty sure he signed with Tampa.
I'm pretty confident.
Whether it was Baltimore or Tampa, it was 1 year, $1 million.
Right. Well, he's done. I mean, he's done. He's done. And that's a shame. I would love to give him a shot, but he's done. I'm convinced that there's nothing left.
Why do you think he's done, but Matt Moore is not?
Because Matt Moore pitched well last year in Japan. Felix Hernandez hasn't pitched well in like 4 years. Now, I know it's Japan, where the hand is used like a knife. I know. But it's really... and again, I would love to see Felix Hernandez come back. Okay, I would love to see him have even if it's a 10-9, 4.3 ERA. I would love to see it happen. I do believe he's done. Now, but it is a no-risk situation for whoever signed him. 1 year, $1 million. Where's your risk?
I agree, there's no risk.
And they just don't seem to find those players. I mean, Cole Hamels is still sitting out there. Everybody would love to have Cole Hamels back. I mean, he's probably done. But, and with Matt Moore signing, I think the chance of Cole Hamels coming here has disappeared. But you just like to see that happen.
Well, let's talk about a name that left. Cole Irvin. They traded him for nothing.
Great trade. Who'd we get? And there are more words of Lenny Dykstra. Cole Irvin is not good. Sorry, Cole. I'm sure you're a great guy. You're not good. He's 27 years old. He's had no success in the major leagues. He hasn't even pitched since his first start. His first start was really good. He has not pitched well since his first start. Cole Irvin is done. If he turns into a 500 pitcher and gets 2 seasons in the major leagues as a starting pitcher, it'll be a successful career. No loss. They had to open up a roster spot. That was the thing. And if you said to me, would you rather have Matt Moore or Cole Irvin on a team trying to win the World Series, as unlikely as it might be, it's going to be Matt Moore 10 times out of 10.
Well, you and I see these low-risk, high-reward signings a little bit differently. I mean, the first time we had that discussion was about the immortal Delman Young.
He still was a low risk. I mean, it didn't work out. See, you have to understand, it's not about working out. It's not a guarantee that player X, Y, or Z is going to be any good. They could be terrible. But it's the key is risk. When you grab a player that was an overall number 1 pick 4, 5, 6 years ago, whatever the years were, okay, and he's still in his 20s, where's your and you're not paying him much, where's your risk?
But if there's a 1% chance that it'll pay off, which was a generous estimate of the Delman Young success rate, then why bother?
Because I look at players like Justin Taylor. I'm sorry, not Justin Taylor. Chris Taylor, Justin Turner, and such. What was his name? Jose Bautista. These are players that, found a home and became real good players out of nowhere. Jason Worth. Come on. Let's go back to 2008. Tell me anybody on the planet thought Jason Worth was going to turn into anything more than a role player. There's no way. I mean, you give a shot. Okay, here's one for you. I got one for you. Do you know that Drew Smiley got a 1-year, $11 million contract?
As a matter of fact, I do, but in fairness, it's because you mentioned it a few days ago.
Okay, that's true. I forgot about that. I mean, if you said to me, do you want to pay Matt Moore $3 million or Drew Smiley $11 million? You have either one. We're not even having a conversation. Okay? True SwamiLee, I mean, my God. He is the epitome of, and by the way, I loved when the Phillies got him a couple years back. Low risk, high reward possibility. But $11 million is not low risk. That's a lot of money to pay a guy who you're hoping is a 500 pitcher.
A guy who in this rotation would be no better than a third starter, maybe a fourth.
Well, the Phillies rotation is not bad. The top three, I mean, are pretty good. And it just comes down to, and if Matt Moore is your number 4 and Velasquez is number 5, that is not a bad rotation on opening day. Now, where it is in May or June, I can't tell you. But for an opening day rotation, that is not bad. You got a lot of potential in your rotation. So you got to kind of think about it from that perspective. Remember, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't. We're not talking about you should have drafted Frank Thomas, in the first round when you're too deep at first base and he can't play defense. Okay, that's as if you knew he was going to be a friggin' Hall of Famer. We're talking about what we know, and on opening day, as on February in the month of February, with opening day 2 months away or 3 depending. We don't know what's going to happen. So right now, so far, so good in the pitching.
Well, let's talk about that Chase Anderson.
Again, no risk. I mean, the guy had a couple good seasons a few years back, and he's been, batting practice over the last, say, 2 or so. But what's the risk? He's no good. You release him. Simple as that. I mean, remember, you pay a guy $1 million in the Major League Baseball, it's like me paying you $20 to run to the store and pick up a case of beer. And you got to keep the change on the $3.14. It means nothing. This is what they should be doing. They should be stockpiling reclamation projects, hoping that one of them turns into a player. Because there's only so many all-stars out there. And they already lost the chance at Brad Hand. Can't frickin' believe they lost the chance at Brad Hand. They got him for nothing. That was insane. There's a lot. Trevor May signed for $3 million. What? How do you not sign Trevor May for $3 million? What in God's name was going through their minds with a bullpen as bad as theirs and Trevor May sitting out there? I'm not saying sign Hendricks for, $40 million, but friggin' Trevor May.
Well, maybe they know something we don't.
Well, it was the Mets that signed him, so there's always a chance that it was a bad decision. But anyway, Mike, let's move on to the infield because, as always, we're running out of time.
Okay, well, I mean, what's to say? They re-signed Real Muto. They re-signed Gregorius. And the only question from my perspective is, do you think they overpaid for either of them?
Real Muto signed for what he was worth. Now, it's just that simple. I expect him between 5 years 1 and 5 years 120. That's where I expect him to be. It's a fair price. He's the best catcher in the game. Is he going to be the best catcher in the game 4 years from now? Absolutely not. But you overpay for future years. That's a fact. They had to bring him back. All of a sudden, the fans are talking about the Phillies having a chance to compete. 3 weeks ago, they were talking about the Phillies being the worst franchise in baseball. It was a key. It was a key signing for the team, in spite of the fact that it was not. $23 million is a lot for him, but this market can afford that. Okay, this market can afford to overpay a couple players like that. And Gregorius, I would have preferred a 1-year contract, but I wouldn't worry too much about it. You can always trade him next year, even if you have to eat some of the contract. You can still trade him, assuming he has value. No reason to believe he won't have value. He had a great year last year for what he was. The only question I have about the Phillies, the infield, if you will, is Scott Kingery, or is it Scott Mike Kingery? Will they ever give him a chance?
Well, good question, because certainly somebody in that organization, Matt Klentak, loved him. But now it's Dave Dombrowski running the show.
Well, Segura, they were looked like they had some bites on Segura. I can't believe they didn't just trade him to get rid of him. I mean, even if they had to eat some of the salary, just to move on from him. I was very surprised. I don't like this super sub crap on a young player. Kingery may be good. Kingery may not be good. But they're never going to find out if they keep playing him at 6 different positions for 250 bats a year. He missed last year pretty much because of the COVID. I mean, he never recovered from COVID last year. So you can't even blame that. And he may be no good. Okay? He may not be any good. They may have misread him. But they don't know that yet. Give the freaking guy a chance. So what are you going to do? Where are you going to play him?
Well, he's not a major league third baseman, that's for sure.
Well, for the moment, they have Bowman there, so it wouldn't matter. Just like they have Hoskins at first, so it wouldn't matter. And now they have Gregorius at short, so it doesn't matter. They got one spot open at second base. They got Segura being paid $14 million a year.
But if you want to do what's best for the team, Segura sits.
But Segura's
bench player.
But Segura was a 300 hitter before he came to Philly.
Segura, he's never going to be a 300 hitter again.
Well, he will as soon as he leaves Philly.
That may be true, just like Lance Parrish remembered how to play after he left here. But as long as Gene is here, he's going to be a scrub.
I wouldn't go that far about Lance Parrish being that good when he left. He had 1 or 2 decent seasons at best in California.
He had a few decent years with the Angels.
Yeah.
But the point is, Gene is not part of a formula to win in this town. He's not.
Well, and you may be right about that, but they should have traded him when they had a chance because there seemed to be a market on him last month. Now, people are talking about playing him in center field, Kingery. But you've got to see what you have out there. Okay? You have Hazley. Adam Hazley. Okay, I get that mixed up. You've got the backup is going to be Roman Quinn for the 10 games before he gets hurt. He'll be back up. And who's the other guy? There's one more guy in center field. Oh, Mickey Moniak.
If I remember.
Mickey Moniak.
Oh, yes.
So they've got 2 first-round picks, 1 overall and number 7 overall. Neither one of them projects to be a full-time major league center fielder. But don't you need to find out? At least in the beginning. I'm not saying play a whole season.
You absolutely need to find out whether Scott Kingery is the player you thought he'd be when you signed him to that deal a few years ago. You got to find out if Moniak is the player who you thought he would be when you drafted him first overall, and that leaves no room for Gene Segura.
True, but again, what do you do with his $14 million contract? I have to assume there's no market anymore.
Well, it would be very easy for me to say, not my money, not my problem, but I'm not going to go there. What I'll say instead is, for the short-term and long-term success of this team, having him sit on the bench unless somebody else, Kingery, Moniak, Hazley, unearns a starting job. That's what's got to happen.
And we do have spring training. Remember, things can happen. You can have injuries. You can have players get hot or cold. A lot of things can happen in spring training. It's just looking at it right now. I mean, the McCutchen signing was just wasted money. I mean, we all love the guy. He's a swell guy. His injury wasn't his fault. But he was a shell of his former self when they gave him 3 years, $51 million. So that didn't help matters any either. And he's going to be the left fielder unless he gets hurt. Hopefully, now maybe he recovers fully from his injury and he puts together a solid season. I don't know. Maybe you rotate Hazley, Moniak, and McCutchen and Kingery. I don't know. I just don't know.
That goes against what you said earlier about giving Kingery a chance, letting him try to develop at least in one position and see what his full potential is.
Well, that wasn't me. That was the Phillies. I've already told you I want Kingery playing every day. I want to know what he can and can't do. I want to give him at least, say, 200 at-bats. And if he's hitting 221 with 3 home runs, maybe it's time to put him on the bench. But give him a shot to play every single day at one position. But I'm saying the Phillies, on the other hand, may decide to push him out in center field. They might send Moniak back to AAA. Hazley may end up being a role player with Quinn as the outfielders, as the backup outfielders. Somebody might get hurt. That could change all this. McCutcheon's not exactly the pillar of health, so something could go wrong there. I don't know. All I know is when you have these young players, you gotta play them. It's as simple as that. They're not going to win or lose because of Mike. I almost said it again, because of Scott Kingery. Okay, that he's not going to be the reason they win the World Series or win 60 games. So let's see what he can do.
I agree.
But anyway, Mike, we are really running out of time, so let's sum up for us exactly what we've gone over today. What's the bottom line?
Well, the bottom line from your perspective seems to be that they have had a good offseason.
I agree. Yes, indeed.
And I'm a little bit less enthusiastic, but, what can I say? I've been a fan of this team for about 47 years, so I want to see good things happen.
But what would you have done differently? Who would you have brought? We already mentioned Brad Hand. That would have probably been a good signing. And Trevor May. But what would you have done that would have been better for the team?
Well, I see Cole Irvin a little bit differently. I think that he's got as good a chance as Matt Moore of being a serviceable end-of-the-rotation pitcher.
Okay, if the success or failure of this offseason revolves around Cole Irvin, we're all in trouble.
But the fact is, with the big moves that they made, Real Muto, Gregorius, Bradley, I agree they were all good moves.
All I'm saying is really if the Cole Irvin move pushes the envelope, so to speak, we're really in trouble. I'm just telling you. Hey, I told you he could work out. I mean, it could happen, but I don't think it's going to happen here.
Oh, and I think my speech earlier made it clear that I would have taken a flyer on Hernandez instead of Matt Moore. And when Hernandez shows more life than he's shown the past 2 seasons, I will tell everyone I told you so.
I only hope you're right, because I like Felix Hernandez as a player and as a person, and I wish him all the luck in the world. I just don't think it's going to happen. Well, Mike, we gotta wind down here. We're running out of time, so we'll see what happens. We'll review this come season time, see where Kingery's playing, see if Matt Moore makes it as a starting pitcher, and we'll see if Cole Irvin makes it in Oakland. He could end up getting waived and pitching somewhere else. You never know. So thanks for tuning in. I'm SwamiLee.
I am Mellow Mike.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.